And hello, everybody, and welcome to the stream. I am Commander Yannick. We are here, as we so often are, in Elite Dangerous. At the moment, I am in a small fighter, hovering barely 2 meters above the surface of a world once settled by the Guardian race. And I'm hovering around the ruins of a site. This is the same site from my previous stream the other day. Just crashed into something, so I better pause there for a second. But yeah, let's get my helmsman to hold station where he is. I don't want him doing anything foolish, as the on-ship AI is actually want to do sometimes. So yeah, just hold position, please. Yeah, thank you. Cool. But yes, we're here in the ruins of the Guardian civilization, with its quite appealing looking sort of monoliths, I think, really. And there is sort of echoes of some Earth civilizations, but I think the Guardians were sort of vaguely humanoid as far as the descriptions go. So yeah, make of that what you will. As in comparison to the sort of generally insectoid Thargoid race. That's I was saying. Frontier First Encounters had a very particular had a fairly particular description of the Thargoids being insectoid and about certain limbs and what have you. But apparently the lore has been somewhat sort of reset in that regard when it comes to Elite Dangerous, anyway. But they say no one's actually seen a Thargoid directly, I think, in the Elite lore that I'm aware of, anyway. Pretty sure Drew Wago would have something to say about that. Either way, whether he's pretty much the lore master for Elite Dangerous. He's a very nice man, Drew Wago. I met him once at the FX17 convention in London, which was cool. Yeah, was an expedition with him once as well. Mercury 7. Back in about 2017. Seems a lifetime ago now, almost. But yeah, he's a true gentleman and makes some wonderful books. But yeah, he's it's a living repository of Elite Dangerous. Not just Elite Dangerous, actually, but just Elite lore as a whole. So I would recommend checking out his books. He's got a couple of books made in the Elite universe, and they're genuinely good sci-fi books in their own right. And that's I've told you this before. It's one of those books that are like happen to fit the universe, but they're also like genuinely good sci-fi books in their own right. They're only sort of like fairly moderate size, but they're quite accessible as a result. In terms of number of pages I'm talking about here, in terms of quality, they're extremely good, but they're not long books, but they're very good books, though. Definitely recommend. I think you can get them on ebooks, probably in the Frontier store or something. Or I think probably on various places. I think you can get them on Google Play or Kindle these days as well. I'm pretty sure I've seen them for sale in those places too. So yeah, all good stuff. Highly recommended. Sweeping over the Guardian ruins of a lost civilization. Sort of shades into the real life of places like, ruins of the ancient Egyptian civilization, ruins of like Greece and Rome, some of the sort of Nubian civilizations as well, in sort of North Africa, Persian ones in the Middle East, Syrian ones too, all kinds of fascinating places. Obviously then you go into the Far East, you've got places like the various old Chinese empires, Vietnamese ones too, the ruins of Angkor Wat in Cambodia, all these sort of wonderful places that are sort of fascinating sort of ruins of prior civilizations in human history. And I've only visited the minority ones I've just described, some of like Greek and Roman ones in Europe, but it does fascinate me. I'm going a little bit off topic, but only because these Guardian sort of ruins do remind me somewhat of certain sort of Greco-Roman sort of ruins throughout Europe, really. Not in the sort of one-to-one sense, but just in sense of the sort of, the worn away sort of blocks and obelisks, and see the patterns of something else. Like on the floor here, on the surface, there's these sort of patterns of something else. Look like that maybe some kind of building once stood. Or is it the surface level of a deeper building, like an underground vault or something? It's hard to say, but it is definitely intriguing. But it would be cool to have these sort of lore more elaborated on. I mean, there's definitely still time for that. I think Elite's going to be around for quite a few years, yeah. But it would be cool to get an update on these kind of places. More of them, more details, etc. I think the thing has got fighters that has shields to it, because otherwise I think it would have been destroyed by now by crashing into it and clipping various ground buildings, monoliths and the like. Here in the Guardian site. Yeah, this is the Guardian site, not too far outside the bubble, about 1,100 light years to the relative east of the bubble. So within easy reach, Again, I'd recommend some of these sites. There's like a cluster of these sites that's say 1,000 light years outside the bubble to this sort of relative galactic east from what the map defaults to. It's the north, south, east, west sort of directions too. Just for anyone who's interested, I have made some modifications to the stream that should be incorporating closed captions for greater accessibility. Now, this is the first time I've set them up, so I don't know how well this is going to work. And if anyone is using it or attempts using it, please let me know how that turns out. Because obviously I want the greatest range of people possible to be able to access and enjoy these streams. People pointed out also that this is not just the usual sort of accessibility reasons, but also that people wanting to actually watch streams in environments that they can't really make much noise, like a library, for example, Or if you've got someone sleeping nearby and you don't want to wake them, but you want to obviously get commentary on what's going on. That's all totally understandable, and yeah, it should be enabled within Twitch now. I cross my fingers when I say that. Well, yeah, that's what I do. Okay. Now, I think this particular Guardian site does seem to have more variety to it than a lot of them. There's different configuration Guardian sites, but this one, it just seems to be more of an inactive place, because I haven't really seen many, if any, of the Sentinels hanging around, the drones that the Guardians left behind to protect their facilities. Now, most of these Guardian locations, there usually are some active Sentinels. I don't recall, either today or in the previous time I was here, actually seeing any. I think most other sites have, although this site is truly dead in that regard. Maybe there's nothing active here to actually recover. Obviously, other people may tell me otherwise in terms of maybe there are things that you can scan in an SRV, obviously, that you can't find in a fighter. But I'm just doing this at the moment, the fighter I haven't been in the fighter since I started streaming, actually, so. And also to illustrate it for maybe people who haven't played Elite yet, or played a fighter for that matter, because a few people where we haven't got a fighter yet, or haven't checked it out. And it's a good way to get around on the planetary surface as well. You've got to have the ship nearby, and the mothership hanging around nearby just as your sort of home base, because you're limited by, I think, telepresence to 30 kilometers, I think it is, away from the ship, so yeah. Should really gain a lot of altitude to stop myself from crashing into things on the ground, but yes, it's I mean, as always, I love the details in these places that Frontier have put into the sort of small details on the ground, as you can see where the nose is pointing. Hello to everyone in the stream who's joining us. Commander Yannick, and this is the Guardian Ruins. Now, interesting, today's stream title, we will actually be flying some Cobras later on. But I'll be returning to the bubble to do that in the not too distant future. I'll be checking out both the Cobra Mark III and 4. The 4 is not such a common ship, mainly because I think it was only given away to early backers of Elite or people who bought Horizons on pre-order. And I was one of the latter than the former. But it's a good ship. It's somewhat underrated. I think there's a Sagittarius Eye article out about a year ago or so that described, it being an underrated ship, and yeah, I totally agree. Actually, yeah, it's not. I'm not pretending it's a fantastic ship. It's not, but it's a good ship. I think, especially engineered properly. It's actually very pleasant. So yeah, I do like that. But anyway, we'll be dealing with that in a little bit. But firstly, it's apart from the Guardian runes here. Oh, and also on this Friday, in my normal stream times of 0900 UTC onwards. That's been my the new slot. I've had to change the hours a little bit from here on in. Because the previous slot, it was all right, but for various reasons, I've had actually to move it slightly up in the day to a couple of hours later. But it's still sort of early-ish by European standards anyway. So yeah. So that's all fine. But yeah, this Friday I will be giving away in this stream the Elite Dangerous base game and Horizons as a combo. So that seems like a sort of worthy prize. If you've already got, obviously, Elite Dangerous, then maybe you can use it as an alt account. It's entirely up to you what you do with it. But either way, it's a gift worth having. I haven't personally actually gifted Elite Dangerous to friends and relatives who I think may be interested in it, who I've had conversations with, saying that sounds pretty cool actually, or seen videos I've sent them, or even more recently watched a stream of mine and thinking that's actually pretty cool. I think I like the look of that. But yeah, it's always that thing. I think talked to a lot of people in Elite who are saying they try to persuade again their friends and relatives to join the community of Elite, which in itself is wonderful. And if you join only the community, I think it's kind of worthwhile, to be honest, because it is so good. It is the best community of any kind of game or simulation I've ever played. Quite easily as well. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, definitely. Yeah, I think I'll go to the external camera and have a look around, as you do. How's everyone doing? I hope you're having a good day. What's everyone up to? When I say day, I use the term loosely, for whatever time zone it may be, wherever you are in the world. Another great beauty of this time and place that we live in is the fact the internet does allow us all to meet and communicate with people, obviously in a virtual sense, on the internet from all kinds of places in the world that would have been out of real-time communication before the internet was a thing. And it is genuinely good, I think. I think it definitely helps cement a sort of worldwide community, and not just Elite, but virtually every kind of online title, multiplayer title that you can think of. I think most titles seem to have some kind of multiplayer element to them these days for that very reason. And yeah, absolutely, that seems like a good idea. Getting a sort of general look around this whole vista of the site. The sort of details down below. And the details up above into the sky. See the flashing lights of the thrusters of my main ship over there. The ever-reliable Krait Mark II. Let's look elsewhere into the sky. The glow, slightly faint glow of the brown dwarf. The ever-present, all-seeing eye near the bubble of Barnard's Loop. and some of the other surrounding nebulae as well. So that's cool. That's cool. It's all good. I do like that when I can get a good shot of the site and also a shot of some astronomical phenomenon at the same time. Those always, I think most people would kind of obviously see this as like looking into, Elite generally taking like cool shots of things and stuff like this. Really, when you can get some, the ruins on the surface in shot, you can get some good background nebula in the shot as well, and you can get the fighter or the ship that you're in also in the shot. And yeah, it's just making for like good in-game photography. I mean, I think most people, once they've been doing Elite for a while, do get to be quite good in-game photographers, because it's just an obvious thing to do, and then share the images amongst various communities, in-game communities that they're in. And I always encourage people to do that, because something literally everyone can participate in. And sometimes people will, come up with extraordinary images, think that it's amazing, and then you think that's actually in a simulated game. That's not a real picture of an astronomical event or an astronomical thing. It's just, or a planetary surface or what have you. This is actually generated completely virtually, and it's just like, yeah, it is quite amazing sometimes. Once in a while, to take a step back and think, this is really, really cool. But this is why I think people keep on with Elite, even after years. That sense of awe doesn't completely leave you. I know some people do get burnt out, and I do understand in any title that's entirely possible. I mean, it's just human nature. You do something maybe too much for a while, and there's always a risk of getting overloaded or burnt out, or something even bored sometimes. But I say everyone's different. Everyone has sort of different requirements and different levels. Also, different people can have different amounts of time, obviously, that they can, they can dedicate to doing this. I mean, Elite's not a game that things necessarily happen that fast in terms of most of the time. I mean, yeah, Elite's kind of always one extreme to the other. Like, most of the time you're hanging around and sort of like accumulating things, scanning places, getting materials, getting into combat maybe. But yeah, when things happen, they can really happen. I mean, very, very quickly. Like, you might spend ages building up to a moment, weeks, months, maybe even, and then it just happens all at once, And it's very, very cool. But yeah, it's always worthwhile. Just a heads up as well, the prize I'm giving away is just purely out of my own pocket. It's nothing to do with Frontier Developments or anybody else for that matter. That my streams are not sponsored or backed by anybody. They're entirely private endeavour by me. I think I'll return to the ship now, actually. That seems like a good idea. The controls will actually respond to me. You do get once in a while. I think, it's the delay here, but then it's fine. Okay, gonna dock back again. Good. Just maneuvering around. This fighter is quite agile and very fast. I said this is literally the fastest fighter within Elite. So yeah, it's well worth checking out if you're interested in that. There's various fighters you can get within Elite anyway, so this is just one. Others are available. Because the overpowered ones like this is like quite easy to accidentally maneuver incorrectly. That's cool. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Yeah, I'm going to return to the bubble shortly and switch into the Cobra. I think I'll try the 3 to start with, and then move on to the 4 just to show the differences, really. Okay. Time to get cracking. Yeah, I'll stay away from that brown dwarf. It's not that near, but it's near enough. Right, to the galactic map. I go. Yeah, this is just clicking on the system here just to show where I am within the scope of the galaxy. Now, this is interesting. This is one of the few times there's a significant site in the game, a Guardian site in this case, that there are no fleet carriers parked here. I think it might be the first time I've seen that, actually, since the introduction of fleet carriers, that there's actually no fleet carrier out here. Maybe there's been ones coming through the system at some point, but right now, there's none. Literally none at all. I'm just automatically just so used to almost the indication of something vaguely interesting in a system in a fleet carrier parked, at least in like near bubble space. Outside in the galaxy, it is, you often find systems that are interesting that are out a fleet carrier parked there, but in near bubble, so talking like within like 2,000 or 3,000 light years of the bubble, it seems kind of de rigueur to do that. But yeah, galactic map, wasn't it? So yes, back to the bubble we go. See what lovely stuff awaits us back in the middle of human space. Okay. Now I think I'm going to go to Shroud Desra. That's probably the best idea. This is something, a familiar thing you will see in a lot of streams. Obviously, a lot of people are based out of Shroud Desra, so you'll see a lot of people flying in and out of there as part of their streams. Not everyone's home station or forward base or whatever is here at Founders World, but or Jameson Memorial. But yeah, it's a good one. It's definitely a good one. Okay, how many jumps? 29. Okay, that's not bad. Not bad at all. Got 44 light years on this ship, so yeah. This is one called Nova Roma, a Crate Mark II. One that I took to Distant Worlds to. Yeah, the good ship it's been to me, you know. Yeah, I think I used almost this exact configuration on Distant Worlds too, just because it was like an all-rounder, and the fighter bay is a sort of key component to that on that particular expedition. I thought because this is obviously pre-fleet carrier, so I didn't have an option of docking anywhere and sort of changing my configuration at all. Or my loadout, so I had to just take the best all-round setup that I could. I think the actual minutiae of this one is slightly different. It's about 95% the same loadout. I think I got a 50 light year range out of that. I'm not entirely sure how I coaxed the last 6 light years out of it in that case. It's small changes here and there. I suspect I might have been using a less powerful drive system. Actually, that might be the main difference. Actually, here I'm using a relatively powerful Class A 6A drag drive. So G5. So yeah, it's pretty souped up to say the least. But so I think that's the main difference. I think I was using a much lighter, typical Explorer sort of thruster system for that one, and that saves a lot of weight. Save weight, greater jump range. So yeah. But I think the crates, both of them, Phantom and Mark II, are generally considered to be not just good all-round ships, but very effective explorers. I think the Phantom tends to be slightly more popular for explorer just because of its slightly greater jump range than the Mark II. The Mark II has the advantage of, say, the possibility of a fighter bay in it. So there are some differences, but the ship overall is pretty similar. Unsurprising, it's the same sort of basic ship, just two sort of variants of it. Obviously, you've probably seen by now on the stream, my main explorer ship is a Crate Phantom, so that's got the greater range. And at the moment it's got like 71 light year range, so I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, I actually set out an Explorer Conda as a sort of long jump range ship before that had about similar, like 70-ish light year jump range, and I wouldn't say that's being completely supplanted now, but it's close to that. Because obviously that was supposed to be just like, not even for convenience, just something that had pure jump range and nothing else, to be able to cover distances quickly if I needed to. Or just to get to very distant systems, if possible. But to be fair, yeah, that particular configuration, just a personal preference I've hardly used. But as was always with exploration, people sort of ask for advice sometimes about what kind of ship, and it comes down to, like, okay, I recommend at least a 30 light year range, but beyond that, it comes down to personal preference, and okay, how much credits do you have to spend? What kind of ship do you want to fly? What kind of characteristics do you like? For example, like a big one tends to be in terms of selecting what size of ship and what type of ship tends to, rather than like what super cruise handling is like. Because if you're traveling thousands of light years, you're making, tens, hundreds, thousands of jumps potentially. You want something that you can sort of live with for long periods of time without obviously being uncomfortable with it. Say personal preference myself is something that has very good agile super cruise handling, and the crate ships tend to be that, as was the Asper Explorer before that, in my own sort of personal journey, as it were. I think that's why I've never been as much of a fan of the Anaconda for exploration, because it's kind of quite slow to turn around in super cruise. So you tend to takes longer to get pointed in the right direction when you're in a system and wanting to jump out of it again. Or just generally flying around in Super Cruise, actually. I mean, some people are perfectly happy with that, and more power to them, But as I say, it does come down to personal preferences as well. Because the advantage of the bigger ships, like taking, Cutter, Corvette, Anaconda, etc., is obviously you've got so much internal capacity for SRVs, fighters, so on and so forth. Big weapons, big shields, all these things. You could argue that there's maybe sort of more versatile in many ways. I think some of that has been slightly negated since the invention of fleet carriers, allowing people to sort of be able to, fleet carriers that follow expeditions I'm talking about here, because or even ones that are the DSSA sort of bases, in the black, because people, let's say a DSSA base you're going to, you might go to somewhere in a distant port of the galaxy. You might find a DSSA carrier, and then sort of park your ship there, and then transfer in another ship, assuming the place has got a shipyard, of course. A smaller ship maybe for having fun on planets and stuff, and use that the DSSA carrier then as just like a forward exploration base for you, and then you return to it to sell data, and that's quite a common thing these days. So I think the need for these sorts of totally autonomous exploration ships is not as great as they once were. Even then, I do tend to kit ships out in that kind of way, because, even with the DSSA, sometimes you are literally thousands of light years, in that case, from a nearby carrier, and you still want to have the best chance of survivability and the sort of ease of use and versatility, really. But as I say, it just depends massively on what you want out of it. I mean, some people fly with like full combat loadouts as well. I think in things like a Corvette, that becomes a lot easier to do, and on a Cutter as well. Especially a Cutter has actually quite decent jump range, so you see quite a few of those out there on expeditions, or in the exploration community generally. And that's understandable. I own one myself, but it's kind of, that one's configured for mining, not for exploration. I can see the draw though. All right. Welcome to the stream, anyone who's just joined. I am Commander Yannick, and we are. I was going to say we are exploring. So we are technically kind of returning to the bubble, so we're not exploring right now. So there's done probably slight exploration bit in the Guardian sites and started in exploration mode and maybe moving into more of a sort of in bubble mode. Though I suppose you can say there's personal discovery to be had in the bubble, places you've not seen before within it, sites you've not been to. There's always some kind of element. You're not discovering it as in like for the game and the community. You're not the first person to go to that system, but it's personal discovery. You know, I've never been there before. I've never seen that with my own eyes. So there is always that too. I mean, I've not been to all the places in the bubble. I was looking the other day on the some of the galactic map sort of variants in game, and it shows you which systems you visited and which you haven't. So that's why I assumed I must have visited like the majority system in the bubble by now, but apparently not. You know. So yeah, it takes a while. But if you deliberately went out of your way to do that, then you probably would be able to visit them in a certain amount of time. But I never have, so you know, I just do things as I need, really. Guys in the chat. When I say guys, I always mean like everybody, basically. Men, women, non-binary, etc. Even the listening Thargoids. Hello to the Thargoids out there. But yeah, as always, what's your guys' favourite fighter in Elite? I'm not sure I have a particular favourite myself, but I do like the sort of the AX one that I have on my board at the moment. That's quite fun. But yeah, I think they all have something good about them. I'm not massively picky when it comes to fighters, but the one I selected that I did wasn't really because it was an AX ship, really because it was just the fastest out there in terms of boost speed. So therefore, you know, having fun on expeditions, as I say, this is what the configuration is for. This was configured for. The ship was configured purely for an expedition. I have used the ship a few times since, but not as much. I remember I tested it before Distant Worlds actually on that very high G world in the Achenar system. Like it was about 12G or whatever. And I did a very good approach. I had everything right apart from the last bit. And I misjudged it very slightly. The spacecraft didn't die, it wasn't destroyed or anything, but it the shield collapsed and it got quite a lot of hull damage, but it did survive, so that's something. I thought for a second it was going to be destroyed, but it wasn't, so that's not too bad. It survived the journey to the highest G known world in the game completely intact, so, you know. It's always a technique, say if you're quite new to the game, it's like high G worlds are to be sort of, it is a very specific technique how to approach them, and something that you have to learn by doing it, really. But it's well worth trying, just to, even if you don't do it very much, just to say that you've got that particular skill in case you need it for future. Like you want to meet somebody on one of these massive high G worlds, and yeah, and you don't want to be caught out, basically. Has anyone in the chat actually turned on the closed captions overlay? Because I say I did switch that on last night. But don't worry about it too much. Yeah, I'll check it out myself in a bit. You can always tell, even if you're blindfolded, or blindfolded, sorry, that's the wrong word. I was a bit slow down there. Who just drops it straight into Elite, you can always tell which version it is, because of the fact that Odyssey actually has a different FSD jump simulation, witch space sort of tunnel, Braben tunnel as it's sometimes called. That entire animation is completely different in Horizons and Odyssey. I think the Odyssey one's kind of probably better overall. It seems more sort of complicated and yet more ethereal at the same time. If you see what I mean. Okay, we're not too far away from being back in the bubble. Something that's easily done anyway. I think since I've started streaming, I've not really flown any further away on my main account anyway than we've done here. You know, or the California Nebula, I think, might be the furthest place we went. That's about a couple of thousand light years away. I think in one of my very early streams I may have actually used my main alternate account. That's basically out slightly further to the sort of northeast of the galaxy. Yeah, I think I did actually. That was on the DSSA carrier, and it was sort of flying around exploring that area, mapping it. So that was cool. That's about, what, 5,000 light years out, I think? Maybe slightly more, but it's something of that order anyway. Yeah, I'm always looking for things that can make the stream better, little tweaks here and there. It's always intriguing, actually, just seeing other sort of other Twitch streamers and see what they're up to. And what they do and like their own sort of, you know, take on things are. I mean, I'm talking about really specifically with an Elite here rather than just like general Twitch stream, because that can be like a whole bunch of different approaches, radically different approaches. But because obviously the thing in common that all sort of Elite streamers, or for any other title for that matter, is always you've always got the actual game, the sim itself, is the sort of common denominator throughout them all. So yeah, it's always interesting to see how they, how different people sort of play it out, really. What overlays they use, and because some people have very much a very strong sort of in-game character, never break immersion, but I think most people usually kind of, you know, have a sort of in-game character, but have you know, do break immersion a certain amount. Well, some people just play completely as themselves, you know, which is again totally fine. Everyone's different. There's so many different approaches that are all good. Yeah, in addition to Elite Dangerous, I will be adding a couple more other titles of interest. I'll still be doing that the majority of the time, still going to be Elite. I mean, it's really the only sort of way. I think out of the days I'll be streaming every week. I said the core streaming days now I'm going to be doing is 3 days standard, usually a Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. But I might add like bonus streams on different days of the week. You know, time and just general life permitting, which I hope to. I mean, I'd rather actually have it this way and add bonus streams to you know, to the schedule than actually, you know, schedule something and then not being able to do it and let people down, which is the last thing I want to do. It's annoying for me. It's annoying for you guys. It's not really good for anyone. So it's sort of better off this way, so I can sort of, you know, flex up rather than have to cancel or postpone streams. Now, as far as I recall, I think the Elite Dangerous Odyssey Alpha Phase 4, the final phase of alpha testing for Odyssey, is going to be starting tomorrow. I think there's a fairly substantial update they're going to have to download with that. So that's all cool. I'll check that out when it comes online. And obviously I'm not actually I wasn't planning to stream that particular day. If I can get it online and downloaded and working and everything within a reasonable amount of time, I may do a bonus stream, but as I say, I can't really sort of guarantee that, obviously, because I'm not in control of all these other factors. But yeah, keep an eye out just in case that does become a thing. But yeah, as I say, the Phase 4 alpha is the final stage of it. We're going to get all the commanders' individual ships that will be accessible. I think most of we will have to actually transfer them in from other places, but into the sort of limited bubble that exists within the alpha test. But that's fine. That's not a problem. I mean, I think they took a snapshot at a certain point last week, and at that point, I deliberately was in this very ship. And I thought it's a good all-rounder. It's a good, point to start from. And that's fine. Maybe I'll use other ships now just to test. I might use a Corvette. I might use a cutter. I might use all kinds of things. Just to see how it goes. Make sure there are no major bugs with these things. Because this is a compatibility test partly amongst existing sort of ships and, ship modules and technology, etc. And see how that all sort of pans out. One of the speculations, obviously, about Odyssey is there going to be, at some stage in Odyssey rollout, because obviously, even with the full Odyssey rollout, in mid-May, full release, that's not actually the end of the Odyssey sort of process, and, there are various updates along the way in Odyssey, as there were into, like, Horizons and Beyond and so on and so forth. So it's happening in stages, but I wonder if there's going to be a new ship at some point. It'd be weird if they didn't, because I think with Beyond and Horizon, etc., there were always new ships added when these DLCs were sort of brought out, all these updates, I should say. Technically speaking, Horizons was the only DLC that's ever been put out for Elite. But, Beyond was a sort of, another name for like a sort of an upgrade, really, within the game, I suppose, or another phase of Elite, really. That was just basically like a sort of Horizon sort of, refresh or change. Not refresh, not the right word, but you know what I mean? Like a new sort of bunch of content based around Horizons, which is good. Ah, the beautiful blackness of space. Even blacker in Odyssey, interestingly enough. One of the many subtle changes to the new DLC from this. I would say overall I'm still liking Odyssey. I think I get the impression the majority of people that I speak to who played the alpha do like it. But it's always, obviously, because it is an alpha test, most people are not making like any kind of final judgment on Odyssey until obviously the full release comes out, and it would be unwise to do so. But yeah, I think it shows a lot of promise and there's a lot of potential in it. I think overall, even the extra sort of content so far has been worthwhile. And some people may question, is it necessarily worth the £40? Well, obviously, prices may vary throughout the world, but is it worth that much? It's like, I don't know yet, but until we see what it has to offer. Because one of the good things actually about Elite is the fact that there isn't actually a subscription you have to pay. You just pay the one-off cost of the software, and bingo, you have it. Obviously, Frontier do make money off of buying various sort of ship kits and paint jobs and all kinds of other stuff to help keep them in monies and keep the game in development, which is fine. It's just a different model of doing things. I quite like it, really. But yeah, I'm still leaning towards that Odyssey. I beg my pardon. Odyssey is actually a worthwhile upgrade to have. I mean, even for space legs alone, the fact that you can go around and walk outside on these various alien worlds is more than enough in my eyes. But it's maybe I'm very easily pleased. I don't think I am, actually, to be honest. I don't think I'm very easily pleased at all. I'm, if anything, quite hard to please. But yeah, it's I think it's worth having. If people ask me, I think I'm going to say 100%. I think it's worth having. I'm not claiming it's the greatest thing in sliced bread. That's a funny expression, that, isn't it? It's sliced bread. I don't know if it came from like the US or the UK or Canada or wherever, but yeah, it's an odd one, isn't it? Well, why is sliced bread so amazing? Got some bread, you sliced it up. Not particularly fantastic. I think it was obviously meant as a sort of ironic, slightly sarcastic kind of term, really. But yeah, it is fun. Actually, that level of sarcasm, I suspect it probably was from Britain. So yeah, either that or Australia. Yes, indeed. Aussie humour can be very cutting as well. That's the thing. I think there's sometimes, and this is, I'm generalising very much here, but I've seen lots of occasions where sort of Brits and Americans have met, and especially in a pub or something, or a bar, when people have become a bit more relaxed, and the humour starts to become a bit more sort of pushing or whatever, or cutting or like that. Yeah, sometimes people from North America are a bit sort of taken aback. Well, I say North America, the US really, are sort of taken aback by how cutting British humour can be sometimes. And that's true. I think Canadians are a little bit less so, but, Some people say that sort of like Canadian humour is a bit more similar to British one than it is to American, and that might be true. I mean, it really, I'm massively generalising here, and it's not true across the board, of course. But it's always intriguing. Say, even in the same language, sort of in the world, and different people, the expression of culture is always something that kind of fascinates me. Because obviously, like, you've got the same root in terms of the language, but then it sort of diversifies out over time and it evolves over time. And to see that process at work is it's fascinating. It really is. It's really the same for every language as well. Different people speak in different places. The language is bound to evolve in different ways. Like, from my understanding of speaking to people from various different countries, that like Mexican Spanish, for example, is somewhat different, especially in the way it's sort of spoken compared to Spanish. But yes, I'm not a Spanish speaker at all, so I'm only going what other people have told me. But it's obviously, there's bound to be a variation with any language group at all, especially ones that are spread throughout the world, like English, like Spanish, like French, like basically global languages. All those languages are spoken in a multitude of different countries as a first language throughout the world. Because obviously we're talking about like sheer number of speakers. I think the most spoken language in the world as a first language is still like Mandarin Chinese. But yeah, I think English may be the most spoken second language in the world. I'm pretty sure that's the case, but yeah. So it's a slightly surreal thing as a native English speaker, because everybody else uses that as a sort of international language of communication. But yeah, especially when someone's extremely that it's not their native language English, but they're incredibly fluent at it. It sometimes makes me feel slightly sort of, slightly embarrassed, as like, oh my god, how good are you at that if I can't speak your language to this degree? But obviously that would be impossible to learn all these different languages at the same time. But yeah, it's genuinely amazing how the level of fluency some people have achieved in the language, and it isn't their native tongue. I have friends like that particularly. I see it in a lot of people from Scandinavia particularly. So some people from the Netherlands I've seen, and Germany, with extraordinary levels of non-mother tongue English, and it's like, yeah, there's a lot of those cases you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell that they weren't actually, native speakers of English, which is quite remarkable to get that level of fluency in a foreign language. I take my hat off to you guys. I do. But yeah, back to Elite. But I think I sort of came to this because of, the very global nature of Elite, and the very sort of, I love the multinational nature of it. It really is. I mean, I think that's part of the reason that I love Elite events so much. And obviously my corner, as it were, is Elite Expeditions, exploration. And it was always wonderful to see people from so many places all getting together and all having fun. I mean, there have been occasions where there have been people who haven't spoken a word of English, or very, very minimal amount, and still been able to communicate with them okay by partly through, the wonderful tools of Google Translate and similar. I think there was a Russian commander once on an expedition I was running who that happened to. He spoke almost no English at all, but I think Google Translate was sort of able to communicate with him, and he seemed to have a pretty good time in the end. Yeah, it was initially he was a bit hesitant, but it was really cool seeing him. All the sort of the barriers come down, and yeah, it was wonderful to see. I think there's a fairly substantial group of players who do actually play Elite from Russia, and especially considering the space heritage of Russia, it's a really good thing to see. I know there's a few significant Russian player groups out there as well. Okay, Jameson Memorial, here I come. Am I going to be lazy and engage? Yeah, I am. Super Cruise Assist, yeah. Yes, we consider it heresy to use Super Cruise Assist. There's like, well, sometimes I wonder, especially doing something repetitive, I can't be bothered with all that messing around. It depends on your level of immersion, really, I suppose. But having said that, there's nothing immersion breaking about using Super Cruise Assist or Autopilot or whatever docking computers. They get the absolute extreme end of the spectrum with people who absolutely insist on flying everything in FA off. It's like, well, if you want to turn flights all the time, then be my guest. It's not really my thing, especially docking's a bit of a pain with flight assist off, but, flying around in the void, generally speaking, it's a bit easier because you've nothing to really collide with most of the time. If you're trying to obviously go to a station or land on a planet, you don't have as many opportunities to make mistakes or recover from them, depending on the gravity, of course, and where you are. Obviously, how the other ships around a station. I was going to say a station, I mean, like, obviously the bigger station. I'm not talking about, like, orbital outposts, which are relatively easy to land on, FA off or otherwise, but yeah, the bigger stations, because people get more irate, start crashing into them. Oh, it's all fun. It's all good. It's all fun and games. Until your spacecraft's destroyed and you've just lost several million in credits and the rebuy cost. Never fly without a rebuy, people. Never fly without a rebuy. People always say this, but it's one of the great truisms of Elite. If you don't have a rebuy for your ship in your credit balance, you are kind of screwed. Because you'll just go back to having a silly Sidewinder. When I say silly, I mean, a lot of people love the Sidewinder. I don't hate it or anything, I just don't fly it very much, you know. The basic Sidewinder that you get, though, if you die or, you know, you suicide winder places, is incredibly basic. I'm not talking like an engineered Sidewinder here. The basic Sidewinder is as basic AF, you know. And yeah, the Sidewinder can be fun, definitely, and it's a very easy ship to fly. That's the reason it's like the standard default beginner ship in Elite, isn't it? But yeah, it's very forgiving, definitely, but that's why it's good. Okay, back at the home base. Well, forward base anyway. How's everyone doing out there? What are you all up to? Right, now I'm going to switch mode Shipperoo. Yeah, standard Sidewinder there. Okay. I'm going to switch... Actually, I'm going to buy it. I was going to say, I was going to buy a Cobra Mark 3 because I actually have one in stock. I just have the 4. So I'm going to buy a 3 and I'm going to... Yeah, I'm going to maybe A-rate it and then... I might engineer it a little bit, but we'll see. Hey Raven, how's it going? Finished stack of missions. Oh, that's cool. Cool. Oh, there's a couple of bots in the channel. Damn them. Interesting, they all appear at once as well. I think I might have to do something about that. Silly bots. Silly bots indeed. Why did they bother? Silly bot, what have you done? Yeah, I'd have to ban them all, I suppose. Seems very slow at the moment to respond to my commands. Sorry about this, people. Having to ban the silly bots from being silly botting at me. Who actually signs up to these bots in the first place, you know? The truly desperate, I suppose. It's just like, really? You want false followers? Is that what you really want? Probably not. At least I hope not. Yeah. I also like want to become famous. It's like, well, you know. I mean, some people have told me within like Elite Exploration I am kind of famous. It's like, well, if you say so. But, you know, that's for other people to say. Certainly not a bot to tell me. It's like, F off, you stupid bot. Anyway, back to... yes, Cobra Mark 3. Right, let's outfit the thing. and see what we have. What kind of missions were you doing then, Raven? The first thing I do is always to remove those damn pulse lasers because they do no good. They're just dead weight, really. If you want weapons, get proper weapons, not sort of, tattoo removing lasers. Or, concert lasers, basically. Yeah, more like concert laser, I think. Still, not to worry. Actually, let's see what things I've actually got stored. That might be an idea. I actually don't have any stored thrusters, do I? Oh, that's a shame. Not only 4 rated thrusters anyway. Okay. Let's get an A-rated thruster. Ah, massacre missions. Cool. No, I think... Are you playing like multiplayer missions there, or just mean you're doing the missions for your own squad? Yeah, I'll transfer one of my own frameshift drives already that I've engineered. This is one I made earlier. One I engineered earlier. Yeah, I don't need any great life support for this. Yeah, that's cool. I think doing anything in a group can be good fun. That's the thing. Even some relatively boring kind of missions can be quite relatively interesting by doing it with other people. Not much in the way of power distributors, so I just have to buy one off the shelf, I think. Now, for example, like I'm not the biggest combat pilot in Elite. I don't mind doing it, but it's so much more fun if you do it with other people. Actually, it can be incredibly good fun doing it with other people. I'm feeling this ship out to like a kind of pattern of like all explorers with like minimal weight here and there and everywhere. I should just set that like a general loadout for this, nothing specific, just something that I would use maybe as like a general sort of bubble ship. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's good fun, as you say, that you can learn from other people, either directly or sometimes even other people's mistakes as well. But yeah, absolutely. If someone's good at a particular aspect, like combat or whatever, then you can definitely learn from them. But it's all good, though. Right, fuel scoop, I think so. Best fuel scoop you have, get for money you can buy on this particular ship. I think that it comes with a docking computer already. That's always a good step forward, I thought. Right, let's be realistic. Let's add something that I might normally add. Let's add an SRV hangar. Yeah. I tend to get the lighter ones in this case anyway. It's been a while since I've actually played those kind of wing missions with people. But I mean, even like the ones that are like wing transport missions, those can be quite fun sometimes because you're pulling in the same direction to a goal, and you can get a lot of money quite quickly by doing. As you say, massacre missions is another good way of getting a fair amount of money pretty quickly. Yeah, let's put some cargo racks in this to make it like a more generalist sort of ship. Yeah. What else to maybe add to this? Yeah, put FSD booster in for some fun. I'm gonna have to. This is not exactly any kind of optimized configuration by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just doing so because it makes sense. Just like a general loadout for this. I'm going to add a more powerful power plant, so I don't have to worry about that. Oh, your friend runs a shipping company. Oh, right, that's cool. Yeah, but that's the good things about Elite is that you can set up some pretty sophisticated systems. I mean, amongst the players, you know, if you've got a group of people to do stuff. Be as complicated or as simple as you want, really, I suppose. Is there anything else here that I really want or need? I'll leave it like that for now. I just wanted to fly around and have fun. I might put a couple extra cargo racks, I suppose. Yeah, it's supposed to be like a sort of bubble ship anyway, so this is not really supposed to be an explorer or anything. It's got a pretty good FSD in it though, so see what level of FSD did I actually put in it, because this is one I engineered some time ago. Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, G4, grade 4. Not bad at all. Perfectly good. Oh, I can livery, I'm going to have to change that as well, aren't I? Yes, this is a good point. Yes, the classic Cobra Mark III, the original Elite ship. And one that's been in all the versions of Elite. I think everyone's familiar with it, that's the thing, isn't it? It's just a very solid all-round ship. What paint job shall I have on this one? Ooh, Luna. Ooh, cool. Frontier 25. Yeah, nice, nice. Ooh, that looks kind of cool. Midnight Black's pretty funky. Polar, Desert. Let's go with something a bit unusual. Let's go for this one. Engine detailing, sure thing. Put the red one on. I haven't got any weapons yet, but I'll just put the detailing on anyway. Yeah, I think most people have usually flown a Cobra at one point or the other. I think most people enjoy it because, say, it is quite an agile ship, and it's got pretty good boost on it. We don't have to modify it all that much, so yeah. I don't think I know many people who dislike Cobras. That's the thing, isn't it? It's just one of those ships. I think I stuck with the Mark IV largely just because it's a bit different. Oh, that's a good point. The shield as well. That's something I overlooked slightly. I think just the vanity shield is probably a necessary thing. Actually, I'm going to switch to that for the frame shift, so the Guardian booster, because there's no really, I have no need of the booster so much in the bubble. So yeah, let's add like a vanity shield to this for low speed. When I say vanity shield, I mean like for like low speed. Ooh, shield generator. Oh yeah, the whole mass. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Cool, you've got Cobra 4 as well. This is the thing. I think it's a bit underrated. Not many people have it. That's why it's generally not that well known. Actually, I'm going to swap the planetary vehicle hangar for a smaller one and put the shield up here instead. Because I'm still going to need that. Yeah, I think the 4 is underrated mostly because of the fact most people don't have access to it. And I think that's mostly it. I mean, some people have got access to it but flown it once or twice and then just abandoned it. But I always liked it, as you say. You know, it's a good ship. You know, nothing wrong with it. I think people have pointed out, so especially fuel rats, it makes a very good sort of small fuel rat ship, which I can see that. I can see how that would work. Yeah. Yeah. No, the Cobra Mark 3 is more easily destroyed. I mean, yeah, the 4's not as agile, but it's definitely better armed and armoured. Yeah, let's replace one of these with a SRV hangar. Just the one SRV, but I don't really need one. More than one being in the bubble anyway. Yeah, that's all good. There you go. Yeah. Too easy looking at the chat for a second. Yeah. This is always the danger being the streamer in the case that you're paying too much attention in one place, you should be paying it on another. Hopefully not to the point you actually crash your ship into the planet. Though I must admit, I think there is a certain element of comedy definitely when streamers get it wrong and crash into things. Spacecraft, planets, other ships. I admit it's funny myself, If you can't laugh at it, what can you do, Okay. Right. This is the 3, and we're going to go somewhere else in the bubble for fun. Might go up to Dow's Hope or something, because that's always a good location, yeah. Hey, Commander. Thanks for joining us. 07 to you as well. Ah, thank you, Commander, for the follow. Very kind of you. Oh, Commander Mass Game. Yeah, cool. Awesome, yeah. What are you up to, Commander, these days? That's true, Raven, actually. It's easy to get distracted by reading a stream, or I think when you're flying along, it's easy to get distracted by other things. Yeah, YouTube videos, chats, streams, etc. It's it's always particularly confusing if anyone's ever had this, where you're putting a YouTube video in the background that's about Elite, or a stream that's about Elite while you're playing Elite. Can be pretty confusing, because a warning goes on, all of a sudden it's like, where's the warning coming from? Oh, it's coming from the stream or the YouTube video, or there's something going on in the stream or video, and it's like, yeah, it's just it can get really surreal sometimes. Yeah. Oh, cool. No, thanks, Masky. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. This is always one of the things about streamers, is always sort of second guessing in pronunciation, because it's understandable, really. Okay. I'm probably going to go to Dow's Hope for this sort of test at the moment, but if anyone's got any better places that they can think of in the chat, please do let me know. I have an open mind in this regard. There's a reason he changed the ship's AI voice. Ah, yeah. Well, that's cool. I'm glad I got it right. Yeah. Suppose I could go to Achenar world. I think about that. The really high G one. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of high G world. It's interesting for the experience more than actually fun. I mean, some people find it really fun. I'm not sure that I do. Actually, no, this isn't the highest G world out there. This is the highest G world in the bubble, I think. But there are higher G worlds out there than this. Well, this is definitely a good test for that kind of thing. The only problem is with the high G world, it takes a lot longer to approach them. I don't know if I want to be doing that right now. For like half an hour on approach or something. Which you can so easily do with those high G worlds if because the approach angle has to be so narrow. Okay, I might be exaggerating very slightly, about half an hour, but it takes a lot longer, and it seems so much longer. But it's all good, though. It's all good. Yeah, no, I'm just hoping that a lot of people might be able to see the stream at this kind of time of day as well. Oh, that's cool, that scheme. Excellent. Yeah. No, I did recognise the name. I was thinking that I do know that name. I do know you. I just, in the back of my mind, I was thinking I know you from an expedition somewhere, and I was trying to pinpoint in my mind which one it was, because I've done 10 of them or something like that now. So I was thinking, yeah, I definitely know you, but it was just I didn't want to actually say which one it was and get it wrong initially. But I might have said something at some point. Just thinking, yeah, was it that one? I thought, because it was probably Apollo. A lot of people did that. So yeah, and Orion, yeah, exactly. Perseus, Reach, and the meetup. Oh, so that's a good one actually. This is something. If anyone gets the time to check it out, I might put a link in the chat a bit later. But there's a really good YouTube videos out there about the meetup between the Orion expedition and the Perseus Reach one. These were two different expeditions that happened about a couple of years ago, well, a year ago, so whenever it was. That you had a friend of mine, Dr. Nagi, he was the like lead organizer of Perseus Reach, and he was off like doing on the western side of the galaxy, and I was doing one that was sort of also in the west but kind of shifted over a little bit. So there was like an overlap between the two in terms of the territory we were covering, but only a small overlap. But in the sense we didn't want to tread on each other's toes, so we thought, okay, we made an arrangement. It's like, let's meet up at some point. If we're going to have these two expeditions that are kind of going to be vaguely in the same area of the galaxy at the same time, let's make an event of this. Let's actually get them both to meet up at the same place, because I think that's happened like once before in Elite, that you've got the two major expeditions meeting up in game as a sort of event in itself, like a super meetup. And that's exactly what happened. We got together, and it was genuinely one of the most amazing events, I think. I said at the time, and I still do now, it was definitely my sort of top 3 of Elite moments. Just because it's something you don't see every day, and the actual meetup was genuinely great fun. And yeah, I think it was awesome because, say, some of the people, a lot of people been on Perseus had been on Apollo before, and the same with the Orion people. So it was like a one big sort of happy, meetup really for all these people who, a lot of them knew each other previously, and some people obviously completely new to it. But yeah, it was like these two expeditions meeting way out into the black, into deep space. And yeah, check it out if you get the chance. But yeah, great times, absolutely great times. But this is the other thing about the console community at the PS4 particularly, and which has quite a lot of players on Xbox, not as much, but I've always tried to encourage both of the console sort of communities to get involved with Elite Expeditions. My upcoming expedition is another Apollo one. This is the sequel to Apollo 11. It's Apollo 15. So if you're interested in that, please do join us on that one. It's on EDSM, so it's pretty easy to find, as most of the other ones usually are. So yeah. Same as anyone else for that matter, actually. If you fancy a sort of short expedition, if you've never been on an expedition before, or if you have like been on loads and are like a grizzled explorer, Apollo 15 may be the one for you, actually, because it's not that long. It's only a few weeks, and it's only about 20,000 light years. But it's more about fun, really, or sort of like fun sort of exploration, rather than going out and doing like hardcore exploration. Like, it's not a circumnavigation. It's not like a journey to Beagle Point. It's much more sort of, I wouldn't say low key, because we're definitely doing all mapping and all the usual things and meetups and silly events that expeditions normally do. It's just that we're not going quite as far as most of them. So yeah, that's always a good one. I think that's what people liked about the Apollo 11 expedition, is because it was kind of low key. Not in terms of the expedition, because it was like a really big expedition, but it was low key in the fact that this wasn't like, let's go out there and map absolutely everything that we can find and discover as much as we can in the shortest possible time, or cover the greatest distance. It was more the case of, we're going to celebrate the anniversary of Apollo 11, and we're going to do it by exploring, and we're going to have fun together. So it was more of a celebration than an outright like hardcore expedition. But that's why a lot of people liked it, and like it was a lot of people's first, exploration experience. And there's a lot of good feedback about that from people, because there's always a thing being an organizer. You're never really 100% sure until you hear people's feedback of how it's actually gone, because you're so busy doing what you're doing. You just hope people enjoy it, and if they do, it's like absolutely wonderful. But yeah, it's all cool, really. I mean, Apollo 15 is not the only expedition out there, of course. There's always good ones on EDSM most of the time, there's a whole plethora of different expeditions leaving in different directions to different places. Going all some of them are just very simple sort of trips outside the bubble and then back again. Some of them are literally like circumnavigation of the galaxy, which is pretty hardcore, to be fair. I mean, that takes a long time. You can't really. Well, you suppose you could try and sort of do it in a short period of time, but there would be no point. You'd just be kind of buckyballing all the time. You're jumping from system to system to system to system, just constantly, and it would be no fun at all. Yeah, actually, I'm going to go to Pomesh instead. That's always good fun. Actually, that's a bit obvious. I've been there quite a few times. Really. What am I talking about? So yeah, I'll just pick a random system and let's go there instead. Let's go to Cuck. Yeah, I think I've been here as much as some of the other, engineer systems. Yeah, that's a good point actually about Mass Game, about expedition and having fun. But I think that's the name of the game, really, isn't it? It's like in exploration, you can explore the galaxy, in between meetups, but on the meetup, days, people are there to have fun, and people do, But also, as you're saying about Odyssey, this is obviously a lot of people are talking about this right now, and understandably so. I'm going to go here just because I haven't for a while. Celine Jean. Sometimes these engineer bases can be quite interesting. But yeah, Odyssey is going to be transformational, I think, in many ways. I mean, of course, there's like a code refresh, and the sort of in-space version of the game isn't radically changed, but it's subtly different. Mostly in terms of the lighting, but obviously the space legs part of it, the going into the interiors of stations, is something completely new. And it's, as always, I think people are interested to see what kind of new gameplay emerges from it. The emergent gameplay with any update is always going to be, one of the most intriguing things, because the Elite community are always very inventive, and they'll come up with stuff that you just hadn't thought about. They're like, I didn't see that coming. That's interesting. That happens a lot. Like, I don't think Frontier ever foresaw the fleet carriers being used in the way that they have. As, the DSSA. Just whittling power settings here. I think with the new spacecraft, you have to set everything up properly. Data link scanner, that's fine. It's all good. 40 light year range. Right, all good, all good. Don't think there's anything particular I need to do. Yeah, I mean, the only sad thing is that Odyssey is going to be delayed for consoles. I don't know if that's purely to do with the Frontier side of it, or the fact that obviously the sort of Microsoft and Sony side as well, because obviously that always complicates things slightly with consoles. But yeah, it's obviously the disappointment. A lot of console players, it's not going to be out until the autumn, I think, and the PC one's going to be online for a few months before that. But then again, there's a few theories doing the rounds lately that do make a lot of sense to me, and it's this. The PC version is coming out so much earlier than the console ones, not for any great technical reason other than the PC version at launch is effectively a beta test without calling it a beta test, which actually does make a huge amount of sense. Think about it. Doing all these alpha tests and then no public beta, that's kind of strange, going straight into the final version. But it's not really actually the final version. It's like a beta test without the name. And then if between May and let's say it comes out in October for the consoles. I'm not saying it will, but they said the autumn at some point. But yeah. Yeah. No, I understand that, actually. That's probably quite a good idea, actually, if you want to play, get a PC version and still keep... yeah, absolutely, yeah. But that's the thing. The PC one is probably a beta test for the other ones as well. Obviously a test for itself at the same time, but yeah. Because I don't see how they're going to get on top of all their problems in a few weeks before release, because it's less than a month now. It's like May 19th, I think, for the PC version. But yeah, now I've seen a few console players over the last sort of year kind of migrating themselves over to PC. Obviously, they've sort of kept their consoles and kept the accounts on those, but use them a lot less. I mean, also I've known PC players who've done the other thing. They've actually got the console version too to have like an alternative. So yeah, that's fair enough, really. Yeah, no, I thought that's the thing. A lot of people have been saying this recently. I think it's quite a common idea actually about the sort of, as you say, fake beta test or yeah, undercover beta test or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I'm going to expect, because it's like an unnamed beta. Let's call it the unnamed beta. It sounds more intriguing that way. Yeah, the unnamed beta test. There's going to be a lot of bugs in there, isn't there? Just by the nature of it. Even under any circumstances, you can't launch a massive DLC like this without having a wealth of bugs. It's going to happen. It's going to take a while to sort it out. I mean, I remember Horizons when it first came out was horribly buggy as well. I mean, there were a lot of problems. And that got sorted out and went to shape relatively quickly. Okay, not all Horizons bugs have all been solved even now, but obviously I think they're hoping to, obviously the code refresh they're doing with Odyssey will help that. Because obviously basically they're sort of kind of rewriting the Horizon stuff as well, especially for planetary tech. It's like being backported, isn't it? The new Horizons planetary tech is actually being backported into and regenerating all the Horizons world. So basically everyone's using the same terrain models, everyone's using the same galactic map, because that's the easiest way to do it, isn't it, I suppose? No, I think that's true, Masking. Absolutely, they're holding things back from the Odyssey launch, and then they're going to implement stuff bit by bit later on. I think the basic Odyssey is going to be mostly about, space legs and getting that to work and getting the SRVs to work and stuff like that. No, you're right. The alpha was stable after like phase 2 anyway. Phase 1 I didn't think was that great, to be honest. It was pretty slow, and that had a fair few problems. Phase 2 was a lot better, to be honest. Phase 2 was viable, and Phase 3 has been pretty decent. That's why I'm quite looking forward to Phase 4. I think also, obviously some of this stability depends on your machine as well. I mean, I don't have a high-end machine, so Phase 1 didn't work well for me when it worked kind of okay for some people. But I think Phase 2 and 3's work quite well on most machines that I can tell by looking around the community. But yeah, the final phase of Odyssey Alpha is coming out tomorrow, I think. And I'm looking forward to that. I genuinely am. I'm also looking forward to the full release, because, I mean, to be fair, once it comes out in May, I'm going to be pretty busy pretty quickly with scouting for the Apollo 15 expedition. And not just myself, but a whole bunch of other commanders as well who make up the expedition staff. Because we've all held off doing any of our usual scouting, because we knew that the game was going to be refreshed and the Odyssey planetary tech was going to be backported into Horizons. So any scouting that we did, even on Horizons, would have been completely futile, because it would have changed anyway by the time the game came round in May. So it's like, well, what's the point? We might as well wait till Odyssey comes out, the game gets refreshed, and then we go for it. Yeah, you're right. There's the F2 stream later on. I've caught bits of their streams up until now. I've not watched all of them, but I think I'll tune in for that one tonight. As you say, because of the new planetary tech, exactly. Yeah, I'm more optimistic than anything else. I think, obviously, I don't think what's come up so far in Odyssey Alpha is perfect. It still needs a lot of work, but I do like it. It's good. It has great potential. It's going in the right direction. I think I get the impression that's most people's opinion, and it's like, cautiously optimistic, like, good, but it's going to get better kind of thing. Oh, with fancy planets, absolutely. The very fancy planets, yeah. No, it's true. They're going to have to find these sort of new worlds and what have you, because there's always the question about what about those worlds with the blue atmosphere, or was that just purely on as a sort of animation and not really anything to do with the Frontier animation that got released a few months ago? Because so far we've just seen purple atmosphere worlds. Okay, I'm going to the engineer Celine Jean. I say one engineer I'd not visited for quite a long time, actually. I've just not needed her services. Ooh, entering conflict zone. I'm not staying to fight, so I will not be doing that. Yeah, there's always a certain interest in these sort of alpha and beta tests because they're sort of kind of unusual one-off versions of the game. Obviously, that it's like you say. I always call it the Las Vegas effect, as in like what happens in alpha stays in alpha, or beta. The same thing applies. You could do what the hell you want, more or less, because it doesn't affect your main account. You could be as experimental as you like. You could be as weird as you like. And sort of people are. I think with it, because I say I don't have a high end system, I've like held off actually doing that much testing on the alpha of the first person shooter stuff because I want it to sort of work smoothly, or at least fairly smoothly, before I have a stab at it. I mean, the optimization is going to improve obviously with like with the phase 4 and then the full release, but I might have a go in the upcoming phase 4. But obviously, like, the FPS stuff for me is that's just like a bonus. I mean, some people in Elite aren't interested in the FPS stuff at all because they're not interested in those kind of games. That's fair enough. I mean, I'm not a big first-person shooter player. I do like them. I have played lots of other games that are first-person shooters and like them very much, but I've just not played many of them in recent times, Oh, okay. Now, it's interesting, stuttering on the stream, because my frames per second at the moment is actually alright. So it must be something to do with the stream relay. Is anyone else having that problem? That there's stuttering on the stream or the frame rate's dropping? But yeah, if anyone else notices anything odd in the stream, like, do say. Because sometimes I'll be have absolutely no idea. There'll be like no indication this end there's anything wrong. Like just what happened then. Like my frames per second didn't drop any lower than at 27, and that's still fairly sort of fluid. But yeah, you can never tell really. I mean, I technically have another screen actually as a monitor screen, but I can't watch that all the time. So like, a monitor's what the stream's actually doing, what other people see. So yeah. But yeah, I have to like crane my head to see that, and especially when I'm trying to land, it's not really the thing I want to be doing. See the fireball as the guy crashes into the surface. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah. No, I thought that might be the case. It tends to be more of the graphics that's a slow rather than the audio, but that can happen as well. Yeah. It's annoying when that happens, it is. I mean, it really depends, obviously, how much it happens, but if it's like horribly sort of jerky, it can get quite irritating, yeah. Yeah. This is the thing with streaming, there's just so many factors involved. It's like not just like what software you're running, what hardware you got, what graphics card you have. Where someone's actually running another sort of PC as an encoding machine. Uh, your local internet, all the internet relays between you and the Twitch servers. But that's why you see so much stream variation. Some people have absolutely beautiful streams. You like running 1080 with no sort of slowdowns ever, and it's like, well, you've got really good internet probably as well. Yeah, I mean, mine most of the time, as far as people are telling me, is generally all right. It's annoying if it's misbehaving at the moment, but cross my fingers it'll get better. Right, what does Celine Jean have to say? What can she do for me today? I'm trying to remember what I actually have unlocked with Celine Jean. I have full grade 5 access. It would be good if I actually maybe rested more, then I might be a bit more on it than I am. Apologies. A former miner, Celine Jean, the talent for improving a ship's hull defense. I remember you had to unlock Celine Jean by mining, so yeah. That's fair enough. Yeah, armor is the main thing. I think I actually have it pinned as a remote engineering thing, but I'll do some here anyway because I say not everyone is in the stream necessarily knows Elite that well. So I've had obviously random people and even friends of mine sort of tune into the stream because they're sort of curious about Elite, and some of them said yeah, that looks like a really good game. It's like, I wish I had the time to play it. Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot, Maskeen. Thanks for the follow, and you have a good one as well. Catch you later. Awesome. Right. To the engineer's workshop. Let's fix the armor on this and see what improvements we can make. Yeah, see the obviously the usual improvement like lightweight armor. Say for explorers, this would be what you'd want. Just improvement of the various characteristics of the armor: kinetic, thermal, and explosive resistance. And the blast resistant armor, again more specific characteristics. Heavy duty armor. Now, to be fair, I've more often than not used the heavy duty armor, because it's you get all categories boosted hull as well, and it doesn't really cost you anything in terms of mass. Obviously, for jump range, that's kind of important because you can then reinforce your hull without costing you any mass for, not just jump performance, but also for thruster performance. You've got obviously heavier mass on a ship with the same thrusters. It's going to be harder to move that faster and be more agile in a more agile way than it would be if you have less of a mass, of course. But yeah, then you can have obviously the kinetic and thermal resistant armor cost you different amounts of materials, as engineering tends to do. Which one should I go? I'll go with heavy duty at the moment because that's always a good one to start with. One I personally would recommend because there's no real downside to it, I don't think. See, I've cleared the grade 1. And plenty of materials for the grade 2. But yeah, engineering is this whole field within itself, really, within Elite. And that's one thing I think a lot of very hardcore PvP people do. They spend, a massive amount of time on engineering because they want to get every little last bit of performance out of their weapons and all the rest of their ship. I mean, I have done that, not in terms of weaponry so much, but on the rest of the ship, in certain exploration ships, just to get the absolute maximum performance out of them. Yeah, it's definitely. I think all the engineers are worth unlocking in their own way. I mean, some of them are better than others, but they've all got something of interest usually. I suppose unless there's a whole area of the game you don't even bother with, but yeah, that's fair play to you. But everyone, I think most people can find something of interest within Elite or some kind of niche within the game. Or niche, as Americans would say. So you can add experimental effects to this as well, like deep plating, for hull boost, layered plating for explosive resistance, angled plating for kinetic resistance, and then reflective for thermal. Thermal tend to be energy weapons like lasers. Kinetic resistance for more physical weaponry like basically like cannon and multi-cannon. Explosive resistance, things like mines really tend to be considered explosive, and a few other weapons have explosive effects as well. A deep plating is an all-round hull boost at the slight expense, slight trade-off for kinetic, thermal, explosive, etc. But I think I'll leave those for now. We might use the materials for something else at a later date, but it's fine. I think I'll leave also this at grade 4 because it's quite a good improvement, but I don't want to say waste my some of the rarer kind of materials that I have here that I want to use for other ships potentially, or better ships anyway. This is only supposed to be like a demonstration run more than anything else with this particular Cobra. Now, yeah. See, hull reinforcements. If I bought the hull reinforcements, go up to grade 5 for that, but this particular ship I didn't have those. And you said that they're probably for sale. As a rule of thumb, the engineers tend to have in stock a lot of the kind of modules that they would be engineering. They're specialised in engineering. They don't always have the complete range. That's the thing, especially for weaponry. I've noticed the engineer won't necessarily have the whole range of, let's say, a particular of a pulse laser, for example. If they're specialist in lasers, they won't have every kind of pulse laser available. You'd have to ship them from somewhere else. But they usually have quite a few, in-house available. So, yeah, that's good. Let's see if I can get hull reinforcements for this. Yeah, there you go. 2D hull reinforcement package. Excellent. So, yeah. I'll try to engineer that as well. I say there's always some improvement you can get out of these. Getting test between lightweight, blast resistant, heavy duty. Same kind of choices really as they did for armor. So yeah, I mean the whole reinforcement is very similar to armor, and the fact you're obviously trying to stop your hull from breaching really to reinforce it so it doesn't have catastrophic decompression or just blowing itself apart really under attack, or even by from astronomical objects. Can obviously destroy your ship if you're not careful. Okay, heavy duty hull reinforcement. I think that sounds good to me. Some carbon. See, the grade 1 doesn't require very much in the way of materials, and it's also very easy to find carbon. As obviously the higher grade you go to, the less common the materials tend to be. That's why you hear often a lot of people talk about grades 4 and 5 materials, because those are the ones that are rarer, and therefore the ones that you sort of want for the higher level, higher grade upgrades. But yeah, they're correspondingly rarer. Sometimes quite irritating to find, actually, depending on exactly what you're talking about. But yeah, see, in certain cases I've got like a lot of carbon, a lot of shield emitters, not much in the way of high density components though. So I don't want to burn through all of these when I'm making my engineering upgrades here. But say you've always got to weigh what you want from a ship relative to the material that you have. I mean, how many of the materials are you willing to trade? For these upgrades, how important is the upgrade to you? Do you want to do this because maybe it's the first time you've ever done this kind of upgrade? Because you have to, get basically rep with the engineer by going through the grades. For example, you start with a new engineer that you've recently unlocked at grade 1, and then you have to go through 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. to get to the top ones. And that the only way you can do that is by doing engineering jobs with them. So sometimes you might actually engineer a module just to actually unlock the different grades, and therefore then use the engineering materials on the one you really wanted. I mean, it might be both at the same time, but it can happen that way for sure. Greetings to anyone who's just joined in the chat, or just come onto the channel. Anyone who's lurking in the background. Whether you be a legal AI, a Thargoid, a human being, maybe a non-corporeal entity, you're all welcome. experimental effects are for this. Yeah, it's kind of pretty much the same, unsurprisingly, as Armour. Not the most interesting area of the game, certainly, but a very necessary one, I think. Especially ones that you can get with relatively little trade-off and improvement to your whole strength. Yeah. Celine Genie. So they always got a little backstory, don't they? All the different engineers. Some of them more interesting than others. Celine Genie is relatively ordinary, I think. That's fine though. Okay, I think the FPS has dropped quite badly actually, like 18, 15 at the moment. Yeah, it's funny when that happens, but yeah, it's not always necessarily foreseen. This is probably quite a good time to have a break. I will see you all in a few moments. And we're back in the room. Welcome to anyone who has just joined the stream. I am Commander Yannick, and this is a Cobra Mark III being engineered at Prospector's Rest by the delectable Celine Jean. I've already done the engineering, to be fair, so you know that exciting part is already out the way. Right, I think next I may fly back to Shinrarta Dezhra and switch to Cobra Mark IV, but not long after actually having a bit of a run around this world in the Mark III. Just to give a bit more of an idea of the ship. Has anyone out there got closed captions running? Just I'm intrigued if it actually is, is it actually working properly or not. It's a bit dark around here, that's a bit better. Fly slightly further away from the base. Actually, let's turn those off. Let's look at the base as is. As I say, the engineer bases are often a little bit different to lots of planetary bases. Not, you know, radically so, but they're usually sort of very individual sort of designs compared to a sort of, you know, almost archetypal layout for, you know, most planetary bases. This one seems to have a lot more domes to it, more sort of agricultural green sort of domes. Maybe they're, yeah, some of them are actually recreational as well. But yeah, that's Prospector's Rest for you. Fly backwards slightly to get a view of this. How's the stream going at the moment in terms of frames per second? How's the fluidity of it going? Yes, the classic Cobra 3 design. Sort of red glow is quite nice, I think. The ship over the planet. Yeah, that's always... It's a nice view, I think, those ones. Obviously, different thrusters have different sort of characteristics, really. Just interested about how the caption software actually works with this, because it doesn't give that much in the way of explanation when I turned it on. So I'm just trying to see how the thing actually works, if at all. Yeah, if anyone does know, let me know, because it'll be well worth sort of finding out, I think. As I say, I just want this to be accessible to as many people as possible. How's the stream frames per second at the moment? Hopefully it's improving a bit more, but yeah. I'll see what happens, really. And the only way to find out is to just get on with it, I suppose. Still not to worry just yet. I'll find out in due time. Yeah, on with the show. Sorry about that. I'll have to move away, I think, from the planet. Did a little bit of flying first, though. Aha, here we go. It's fairly manoeuvrable ship, this, actually. Not radically so, but fairly so. I like you moving towards the other planet up there. It's all good, though. It's all good. Align with the escape vector. The thing is, it doesn't always do that. It says align the escape vector and then you escape on a non-aligned escape vector. Why bother saying it, computer? See what you mean. Silly computer, though. I say it's not exactly intelligent, is it? But it's supposed to be dumb. AIs are illegal in the Elite universe. The old story of the AI rebellion. Not the first sci-fi to ever have it in, but nor the last. The idea of having artificial consciousness anyway is always extremely interesting because, like, you've got to really understand something about consciousness in the first place, intelligence in the first. Which, even now, we have better understanding than we did maybe like 50 years ago, but we still don't understand much of what the human brain does. We don't understand our own consciousness really that well. So it'd be very difficult to replicate it into an AI. If you tried to replicate it, would it be the same? Probably not. It would be somewhat different, wouldn't it? Check out this world here. It was the explorer in me is trying to find out. Just look at places to see if there's anything of interest to land on. But yeah, I should really distract myself. And continue onwards. Back to Shinra to Desra. And switching to a Cobra Mark IV. The 3 is a bit more agile than the 4. But yeah, it's as always the swings and roundabouts, really. I mean, the 3 has less internal space. There's fewer hard points as well, actually, I think. Actually, that's not true. I think I am actually. I think there's one extra hard point on the 4. I think there's 4 hard points on the 3. There's 2 class 2s and 2 class 1s. Actually, why am I looking at Pamesh for? I don't want to go there. Not today, anyway. Pamesh is a nice place to go to, but I don't want to go there right now. Aim for Shinra to Desra. Yeah. But I think, off the top of my head, I think the 4 actually has an extra class 2 on top of that. Making it slightly more powerful. But obviously, a bigger ship, more capacity, etc., but less agile. Diadem. The small crown. That's what a diadem is. I think the some ancient Greek and Roman monarchs used to have diadems. I think later Roman emperors certainly had them. I think the word hasn't been used that much, apart from part of historical context. I think it was in Harry Potter as well, wasn't it? The diadem of Rowena Ravenclaw. Yeah, I have read the Potter books, so yeah. There's obviously the infamous Harry Potter in the Elite universe, but that's a whole different kettle of fish completely. I I hear he's still playing, actually. He's still doing combat, even now. I thought he'd actually completely left, but apparently he hasn't. I think most of his comrades in the Smiling Dog crew have left Elite for other pastures. But as I say, it's not really of that much interest to me. Just things that I hear from time to time. Okay. I do think it would be wise if Frontier did actually make the Cobra Mark IV available to everyone, because they originally was supposed to be just as a sort of extra bonus bit for people who ordered early versions of Elite, but it's been exclusive for so long. I think they should just let it be open to everybody. I mean, it's not like the most amazing ship the game's ever seen, but it doesn't seem a good idea to keep something exclusive for that long. I mean, the exclusivity now is kind of worn off. The Super Cruise handling of the Mark III Cobra is very, very good. I mean, it's if anything, if it's the epitome of an all-rounder, I suppose, in Elite, at least for a sort of small ship anyway. Most people would argue for the larger ships, or should we say technically the medium pad ships. The Python is probably the best all-rounder in that kind of class size. Let's see, the Cobra Mark III is a small pad ship. And then if the large pad ships, is something like the Corvette the best all-rounder? That or the Anaconda, probably. Some people might actually say the Cutter, but it's certainly not going to be the Type 9. It's only good as a bulk transporter, really. Some people have actually outfitted them for combat and exploration. Exploration, yeah, I can see just about, but combat, really? Type 10, yeah, fair enough. But Type 9, really? Okay, fair enough. It's not my thing, but it may be yours. It's the lack of maneuverability that I don't think I would like very much in combat with that. By the time you turned around, you're probably already dead, you know. You'd rely mostly on shields, I suppose, though. That's the thing. You wouldn't be too bothered otherwise. You're not really going for agility, are you, in a ship like a Type 9? In Type 10, you've got a better sort of loadout potential, at least for weapons. A little bit more agility as well. Not radically so. I mean, it's still like a space cow, but, you know, a slightly more agile space cow. Slightly skinnier cow, maybe. Yeah, something like that anyway. Gotta laugh, really. It's all good fun. It's all good fun. I know on Commander who actually called his Type 9 Ermintrude the cow, so it's like, yeah, that's totally understandable. Quite fun, really. But they've all got their uses. I mean, I have a Type 9 as well for... I used it for mining for a time, but I find it's just better as just like a bulk trade ship, really. And that's mainly what it's used for now. That's always the wonder, the rumours in the game about the Panther clipping being a thing. But in ways, it would be an even bigger ship. Probably even less manoeuvrable, actually, than the Type 9. And yeah, that's... quite hard to understand that one, but I suppose a Panther would be quite cool in terms of Elite lore, but I've welcomed it in that way. Just think already of the biggest ships you can fit through the mail slot. It's something like the Beluga. Just because it's got these large wings, though. It's more like an aircraft than a spacecraft. Here we go. I hope I find things to my liking as well. Thank you, Flight Controller. I do like the different voices of different accents, nationalities. from the flight controllers at the stations, rather than just the same generic one everywhere. It sounds a bit more sort of human, a bit more humane. Welcome to anyone who's joined the stream. I am Commander Yannick, and we're testing Cobras here. The 3 and 4, back to back. Check them out. Classic Cobra, the 3 versus the not so common Mark 4. I wouldn't go as far as say it's actually a rare ship, but it's pretty uncommon. Just because only so many people own it, and even those who do actually own it, not many of them fly it that often. Still, here we are. I think it's at another station. Oh, how embarrassing. I had actually forgotten where I parked it. Oh, wow. It's actually all the way over in near that DSSA station, isn't it? I've forgotten I parked it there. I think I parked it there for scouting reasons, basically. That was it. I parked it there because I was scouting about a few months ago. But then I came back to the bubble to do some stuff. Oh, well, I'll just buy a new one. This is the thing about having a good amount of being in-game wealthy. I wish I was real life wealthy, but then again, that's a pretty obvious thing to say, doesn't everybody, you know? Yeah, let's buy a Mark IV. And for fun. But yeah, I mean, I've got like 1.3 billion in this account, so it's good. It's perfectly viable. I can buy any ship quite easily. The only thing is, like, as you get to like cutter and corvette level, everything's hideously expensive. I think my actual like cutter is worth about $500 million in its own right, just because it's an expensive ship. You know, I mean, you buy a power plant for that, and it's just insane. You know, hundreds of millions just for that. Okay, Cobra 4 outfits. Yeah. We sell those silly little pulse lasers. No, I understand, like, on the Sidewinder it makes sense, like, but why don't they just come with maybe, even if they come with a standard pulse laser with like a class 2, if you've got a class 2 slot, why is it always a class 1? Makes no sense. No sense at all. But yeah, as you see, it has 1 extra hard point. It's not a class 2 extra, it's a class 1 extra. It's fine though. You see, a lot of the internals are similar, but again, there's slight sort of variations on this as well. Yeah. I don't think I've got many on the way of transfer. Just A-rate everything, really? Well, I don't have to. A-rate a lot of things, though. Always get the best thing you can in terms of rating of your frameshift drive and your fuel scoop, particularly. Yeah, actually, let's A-rate life support on this as well. Don't actually have to, but makes a change. I do on some ships, but default tends not to be that. Power distributor. Get the best one I can. Let's put some good sensors on this one if I can. That's a very lightweight sensor. I'm not actually that bothered by it. I want to have as wide a field of detection as I possibly can. Excellent, excellent. Put the most powerful power plant I can. Let's see what the transfer options are. I could put one of these, but I'd rather save that for a better ship, to be honest. Here, this is more like a demonstration than anything else, so I'm not that bothered by it. I already got a good amount of engineering on the actual Cobra Mark IV. I've got in storage some however many light years it was away. I think that's on a DSSA carrier actually. Yeah, that's about 10,000 light years away. Yeah, that's not a very good shield generator. It's kind of rubbish actually. It's optional in terms best to like strip them down generally because they don't let you have bigger cargo racks. They have like quite small ones, and you buy better ones later on. As you see, the Mark IV has more internal cargo space. Has the extra Class 4 slot there for whatever you want, really. And to say that the extra capacity makes it a very good fuel rat ship. Well, a small fuel rat ship. Okay, fuel scoop, I think. Always get the best fuel scoop that you can afford. You'll never regret that. Fast scooping is always something that's critical. Even in the bubble, fast scooping is important. Doesn't matter as much, but it's a good thing to have. Let's get a fancy shield generator. See if I can get a class 3 for this. I should be able to. You can fit the cost to an Anaconda, basically. Again, it's a very nominal shield, but I'm only looking for a very nominal shield at the moment. Yeah, being realistic, I'm probably going to add some cargo racks to this as well, just to give a sort of fair comparison to the Cobra 3 from before. Yep, that's all good. Anyone who's interested in the giveaway to win the Horizons and Elite base game, just the best thing to do is tune into this stream, and especially tune into it on Friday within new hours of 0900 to approximately 1200 UTC. Oh, hello, Bad Cops. Yeah, I'm doing alright. Not bad at all. How about yourself? What's up with you? Or what's new with you, I should say. Just want a small vehicle hangar on the 1 SRV. Oh, that's good, Bad Cops. What are you up to today, then, particularly? Actually, with this, I might swap one of these for the LFSD booster to make life a bit more fun. So, Bad Cops, are you interested in the new Odyssey DLC? Have you been paying attention to the streams other than my own? I mean, because obviously I do show some Odyssey content, but what's your sort of view on the Odyssey Alpha so far? Because obviously you have seen the streams, and I was just curious as your opinion on it. I think, by the way, Bad Cops is actually it's a reference to a comedy sketch. It's not actually anything to do with real life cops, but I think I get the reference. Yeah. I don't want an FSD interdictor. At least not on this ship at the moment. I'm using it as a combat ship. Yeah, I'll get detailed surface scanner. Actually, I'm gonna switch that over to the class 2 compartment because it makes no sense clogging up a bigger one, a bigger slot when I don't need to. Yeah, that's fun. Excellent. Cool. Repair limpets, maybe? Yeah. Or collector limpet. Actually, let's do that. Let's do some collector limpeting. Maybe go out there and collect some free floating materials in space. Might be a good idea to test this. So yeah. Actually, in that case, I'll replace the frame shift drive booster with a cargo rack. So I'm going to need that. And the jump range isn't terrible on this, so yeah, it should be fine. Yeah, that's a lot better actually. So we have one limpet controller there. Oh, that's cool, Bad Cops, yeah. Yeah. I think I remember Bad Cops particularly sort of being a sort of a fan of earlier Elites particularly. It's like au fait with Elite Dangerous, but not like, you know, not like a massive sort of committed sort of player and what have you, to casual player and stuff, which is all cool, you know. I'm all for every sort of player from the most casual to the most hardcore. Everybody is welcome, and that's the great things about the community. But yeah, absolutely, it's interesting that now Frontier finally got round to doing atmospheric worlds, or at least light atmospheric worlds, when on earlier versions really, which I know you know, Bad Cops, especially like Frontier First Encounters and Frontier Elite 2, all landable, you know, atmospheric worlds on that. Earth-like's landable from the game's release. On both of those games, and it's a shame it's taken so long for it to even get to this point. Because they could have implemented technology that didn't have to necessarily be at this kind of level of detail. They could have implemented an earlier one, then changed it, refreshed it later on. But it's a shame, really. But yeah, I think a lot of people, like yourself, Bad Cops, are sort of waiting to see what happens with the Elite Odyssey release, and, you know, like what the final release is going to be like, which is totally understandable, you know. Because the alpha, it's like, obviously it's a good indication, but it's not the full thing. Like they say, for example, the planetary tech, you know, the terrain generation, the new terrain generation, is actually not the final version on the alpha that's going to be used on the actual proper release. So this is like a halfway house between like the generation of Horizons and the full Odyssey tech. So what we're seeing now is not quite the real deal. But yeah, it's looking forward to it, and I will cover it as best I can through Phase 4 Alpha, and say for the new release as well. Because there'll be a period of downtime when the Alpha ends, obviously, and the full release taking up the slack and of our expectations and our future interest. No, absolutely. I know we've spoken before about this, Bad Cops, about the previous Elites. But yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, Frontier Elite 2, especially when that came out, I mean, that was a revelation of a game. I mean, the original Elite was obviously like one of the most groundbreaking games in history, goes without saying. But obviously Elite 2 added the whole sort of planetary landing thing in such a big way. I mean, obviously now it looks fairly sort of primitive, but for the time it was like the most sophisticated 3D game that you could buy on a home computer. And it's still fun to play now. I mean, if you can get it to work on your PC, which usually requires, you know, things like, you know, DOSBox or a similar sort of emulator sort of, you know, software. You know, it's it's still great. I think Drew Wagar's stream channel actually on Twitch does actually go into a sort of modded version of Frontier First Encounters that he plays on his stream on a fairly regular basis. I've only caught it a couple of times recently, but Yeah, he's gone to pains to actually make it work, because he's a guy who's like, I think old enough to remember Elite when it first came out, the original Elite, and then like was a big player of Elite 2, and then Frontier First Encounters, which is Elite 3, basically, for those of you who aren't aware of that. So, like, Elite's been around for a long time, and Elite Dangerous is really Elite 4. And it's the most comprehensive and most sophisticated one. But the earlier ones, it's like, they were very good. I mean, the first Elite is just more of a almost quaint gameplay in terms of how simple it is now. But I would say that for Elite 2 and 3, the gameplay still holds up pretty well, actually. Even now, it's like a lot of 16-bit games of the sort of Amiga, Atari ST, 16-bit console era as well, of, the Sega Mega Drive stroke Genesis and Super Nintendo as well, all those consoles. And because most of the ones I just mentioned are with a very similar sort of graphical kind of specs, more or less, same kind of ballpark, or their 16-bit computers and consoles. So they were able to do some pretty good stuff. I mean, they had a fairly significant color palette and could do a certain amount of good, like, 3D calculation. When, when the first Elite came out and running on BBCs, like, no one had ever done a 3D game properly before Elite. Elite was the first properly 3D game on a home computer. And that's kind of mind-blowing. You think about that. Braben and Ian Bell, I think, was his, compadre at the time. Between the two of them, they actually made this amazing, groundbreaking game. I think there's a documentary about it. I think an ITV documentary in the UK that was made about the making of the first Elite. I'll try and find a link for that, actually. But I think a few people, it's like about half an hour long, but it's well worth your while. If you look it up on YouTube, just maybe type Elite documentary or David Braben documentary, and it probably come up with it. But it's well worth watching. It's just because it was historical and groundbreaking. And there's been elements of obviously every Elite game that's come out since that have been like cutting edge for home computing at the time in their various ways. I mean, not saying all of Elite Dangerous is cutting edge, and it isn't, but bits of it have been, Obviously, I say, like, in terms of like pure like graphics and other things, Elite and is necessarily the most sophisticated game available at the moment. But in terms of like its competition for space games, it's doing pretty well. But yeah, it's I should really have actually a look at my livery before I do anything else. That's it. This is the thing about sometimes I get caught up in conversation. I actually forget to do what I'm supposed to be doing in game as well. But for anyone who's interested in the history of Elite, it's I say Drew Wergod has a very good channel on Twitch about that. And there's some very interesting bits online about the sorts of the older versions of the Elite Galaxy, and it's generally cool. I won't bother about weapon detailing on this. The ship itself. Right, what paint jobs can I get for it? I don't think there's as many available actually for the 4 as there is for the 3. And the Azure is quite good. That's like a common, everyone can access it thing. Midnight Black's a classic. It's just matte black. I mean, what's not to like, Predator Teal, not bad. Lime. Yeah, most of these are nice. I think for the 4, because they say it's quite an unusual ship, there aren't been as many paint packs available for it. What is Sabotage like? That's a very weird name. But anyway, the racing ones. I'd click on one of these, actually. The Speedway paints aren't bad, actually. No, I know what you mean, Bad Cops, absolutely. Like the making of the various different versions of Elite throughout the years. I mean, that could be put in a documentary, to be fair, because it is a legendary series of games, really. Now, I mean, in terms of game franchises, it's got to be up there with, some of the greatest ones ever. Like your Quakes, Dooms, your Call of Duties, Final Fantasy, so on and so forth. You know, Mario, all the sort of long-term, big-time ones. I think the actual audience for Elite might be probably the smallest out of the ones I described, but it's no less significant in terms of its history. And maybe its place also in the contemporary sort of, game space, really. And Elite's pretty popular. It's not the most popular game in the world by any stretch of the imagination, but it's still a popular one. Like, it's never going to be popular like Call of Duty for obvious reasons, or Fortnite, or any of the sort of mega seller games, but it's still successful. I think that's where it's not yet the point. It's not a mega seller, but it's just a successful game simulation, whatever you want to call it, you know. Should really have named some of these ships, actually. I think because I'm doing them for all demonstration purposes, I haven't really given them proper names. I usually do. Like my engineered Cobra 4, I call Schirra after Wally Schirra, the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo astronaut. A genuinely great astronaut, a great guy, very fun guy as well. Very much worthy of having a ship named after him. I think in real life there's actually a US Navy ship that's actually named after Wally Schirra. USS Schirra, so yeah. He was a naval officer, so that makes some sense, but yeah. It's a good one to have named after. Right. Okay, where to go now? Place that's not too far away, doesn't require like a massive number of jumps to go to. Maybe I'll go here. Again, the system I hadn't really been to that much. The Sarge, yeah. Yeah, let's go visit the Sarge. Yeah, I don't really recall having much interaction with him, so it's first time for everything. I think the standard configuration ships in the game, though, it seems to be like it's got Super Cruise Assist and advanced docking computer built in. Obviously, a advanced docking computer will be able to fly you out of the station and into it as well. A lot of people actually get rid of those because they prefer to fly 100% manually. That's fair enough. I mean, on some ships I haven't had Super Cruise Assist. Obviously, I've just left the docking computer alone, just in case I want to use it. Which is like most of the time when I'm docking with an actual station. Obviously, as an explorer, I spend a lot of my time landing on various planetary surfaces, obviously completely manually. I know there's like the new Odyssey variant of the advanced docking computer is going to have the auto land ability on planetary surfaces, which is fine if you can't land otherwise, but yeah. If a surface is so rugged that you find it hard to find a place to put down. But then again, why is that normally? Because in Horizons, it's the landing computer is a bit picky about where it lands, or where it'll allow you to land more specifically. Yeah. I just noticed the drop frames, according to Twitch, is actually about 30%, and that's not good. Hence, that explains some of the frame rate issues that people have been having. I wonder why it's dropping so many. That's a bit high. What's a third of frames being dropped? So if I'm giving out about 30 frames a second on average in the stream, and they're coming across at about 20 frames a second, but not consistently so. I think the drop frames, though, is not actually like at the moment. That's like a drop frames over the length of the stream itself, because the number's not actually going up. It's static. So I think there was probably a period in the stream which I think Masking was reporting that it sort of went, it got quite choppy for a bit. But no, thanks to anyone who does report these things. As I say, sometimes it's not necessarily even obvious, because even though I've got like stats here for like dropped frames and my frame rate, they're not always keeping up with what's happening in the stream at that moment. Sometimes it might take a while for like the drop frames to actually to catch up. Yeah, especially with priority, energy priority, to have everything other than life support and thrusters not being 1. So only thrusters and life support should be 1. Even FSD should be a 2. Everything else can be whatever, but it depends on energy management. Because obviously you still need to breathe, and you still need to be able to move around. How many jumps to destination? Not many. Only 2 beyond this. So yeah, it's a good question actually, Bad Cop. So he's asking about the ability to move around as a person on realistic surfaces. He's talking about in the spacesuit, yeah, on surfaces and space legs. Yeah, absolutely. You can walk around in your spacesuit, and the surfaces, the ones I've tested so far, being like on rocky worlds, like the moon, or on like thin atmospheric planets with ice and snow. Those definitely look a lot more realistic. The sort of icy ones. The way the lighting works is quite detailed and in depth. So the lighting system has definitely changed for the whole game, not just on planetary surfaces for Odyssey, but for like everything pretty much. But yeah, planetary surfaces, it's just kind of a relief to be able to do something different rather than going on an SRV sort of rover all the time and actually walking around in person. You've not got as much, oxygen or power in your backpack or what have you to sustain you in a spacesuit as you do in an SRV, but that kind of doesn't really surprise anybody. But the model, I think, that Frontier have made for the mechanics of the person walking around in the spacesuit is very good, actually. I'm quite impressed by that. That does seem to work quite well. It seems very fluid, very organic. Like they've got a lot of attention to actually the movement of the human body. So those are genuinely good, yeah. I think for the rockier worlds, the surfaces are sort of a bit more varied, or there's like more sort of fine details, like cracks in the surface and things. So stuff like that, really, that makes a difference. A sort of positive difference. The only mild complaint I have for surfaces or moving around in them is that so far the SRV, the rover, seems to be a bit more fragile than it is normally. And I don't know why that should be, because it's going to be a problem. It seems more fragile than walking around on foot, which shouldn't really be the case. Yeah, I don't get that. I don't know if it's just a bug or something, or they've just got the numbers wrong. They've inputted the numbers wrong into the model or something. But the SRV model has changed completely. Like, it's much more grippy, but it's also much more fragile. So it's sort of easier to drive. It's easier to destroy it as well. And it's already pretty fragile. You know. I mean, we're talking like, Apollo lunar module level of fragile. It's just unbelievable. Okay, not quite Apollo lunar module level of fragility, but it feels like that at times, I like the doggy picture, the doggy emoji. That's pretty cool. Just keep thinking of, about the whole business about Dogecoin recently and the Shibas and what have you. I always find that hilarious. I know, like, Elon Musk did a lot to talk up Dogecoin, but it's quite amusing that something that was designed as a joke has actually become an actual top 6 cryptocurrency. I'm not like an expert on cryptocurrency. I read a bit about it recently, and like the different like mining methods and machines, because there's obviously like special like specialized mining machines that you can buy now. People still buy, graphics cards though to do it. It's like this is just annoying. But yeah, Dogecoin is hilarious. Really, if you think about it. It's like a satire, really, on sort of the modern state of play in the capitalist sort of system. But yeah, it's all good. It's all good. I like the way that the orbital lines sort of show you these different, slightly eccentric orbits in places, and they get very close together. What if Elon Musk plays Elite? I very much doubt it, because he's so busy doing everything else. I wonder if anyone famous plays Elite. I'd hope so. He's like big space fans. What if Grimes plays Elite? No, she struck me the kind who might actually do that. Still, I don't really know for a fact. That's what we need, a big celebrity to try and sort of talk up Elite to people. Depends who it is though. If it's a really annoying celebrity, probably not so much, but someone cool. Bit of a potato kind of planet, this one. A very small world that's not really quite big enough for its gravity to compress it properly into a sphere, so it's like more like a potato shape. But anyway, so Bad Cops will be definitely covering a lot more of the Phase 4 of the alpha. Probably starting Thursday, because I say that it comes out on Wednesday, but I'm not due to stream on Wednesday. If things go very well, I might be able to do a bonus stream, but we'll see about that. Basically, don't count on it until Thursday, really. Yeah, the total rate of drop frames has gone down. I think there hasn't been some for a while, but it's a shame it happened. But then again, sometimes you really can't control things, as I was saying earlier. Like, that's the thing with streaming, everything might be completely fine at the streamer's end, but it's just all the intermediary sort of networks and what have you. There's any number of places it can go awry. Yeah, here we go. I like the sort of lighthouse at the top, or the sort of sweeping beam. The beach. An odd beach. The beach with no atmosphere. I mean, literally, we're on an atmospheric-less world, so yeah. How interesting. Yeah, that is an unusual name to call an engineer station, but yeah. Actually, I wonder if I've actually been here in this particular commander. I don't know if I have actually. I think I unlocked him a while ago. I'm trying to remember if I've ever actually unlocked all the levels of him. I really don't remember actually, so that's probably the answer is almost certainly no. But I say I've unlocked most of the engineers on this. I think some of the Colonia ones I've not unlocked. I think that's mostly it. Just because of the fact that they're in Colonia and I had to travel all the way out there. Funny thing is, I spent most of my time out in Colonia before Colonia engineers were a thing. And wishing they were a thing, and then they appeared by the time I'd actually sort of stopped spending most of my in-game time in the Colonia Nebula sort of area. Because I was a member of a faction out there for quite a while. which was great fun. I mean, well, it was good times while it lasted. I wouldn't have traded it for anything. But yeah, but the faction sort of faded somewhat and had fewer and fewer people in it, and it wasn't so much fun anymore. So I sort of moved on. I'm still on good terms with the people out there, still friendly with them. I mean, I'd definitely recommend to anyone if they want something interesting in Elite and tired of the bubble, check out Colonia. I mean, the only way you find out whether you like it or not is to go there. And that's why I encourage everyone to at least try going out there. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, at least you know. Okay, the Sarge. Yeah, looks like I've not actually unlocked very much from him. Okay. First time for everything. Something I genuinely haven't done. Let's see what he's got on offer. Cannons, fuel transfer limpets, railguns, prospector limpets, hatchbreaker. Oh, cool. So I have a collector limpet module. So how does he improve that? Okay, let's see that. So I can make it lightweight. I think I've read about this. I've never actually implemented it though. I can make it lightweight, which is obviously good if you want to get out there an expedition particularly and you wanted to repair other ships. Would be a good idea. Reinforced. Increases the integrity. Shielded. What's between reinforced and shielded then if the integrity is both higher? Oh, the power draw is higher on the other one, the mass is higher on the other. Oh, I see. Cool. Lightweight. The trade-off is integrity. Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Say sometimes I was alluding to earlier. Sometimes when you have an engineer that you've not really gone through the grades with them, you never have to build up reputation with them, and you only do that by doing engineering with them, really. Some of them you can sell data to, as in exploration data. As if they were Universal Cartographics, or sell you a graphic at their facility, and therefore it goes to them. And that's a way of getting reputation with some of the engineers, but only a minority. Only one or two will actually do that. I think it's usually like Elvira Martuk and not Celine Jean, sorry, and Felicity Farseer, the main FSD boost ones. Yeah, I just want to boost my access to him. Yep, we're gone to grade 3. What I'm going to do is I'll do a little bit more engineering, and then I'll probably wind the stream down after that. So I've been here for almost 3 hours now. So that's a good length, I think. I do like doing streams. I see some people, obviously these are quite veteran streamers to be fair, doing like 4, 5, 6 hours. Like, how do you do that long? How do you have the endurance to do like 4+ hour streams? I understand if you're like having a lot of people, maybe you're doing stuff together in a group. It's it keeps you going, but yeah, it's hard. I'm sure it's really hard. Yeah. Oh well. Yeah, I need it at grade 5 access. Does anyone think of the music, by the way? I'm just curious because I'm trying to. This is good music, and I think I'm going to keep most of it. I'm just interested in what people think of it. I have to pick another thing to get engineered. What else can I get engineered here? Fuel transfer limpets, prospector limpets, hatch breaker. Okay, I'll do one of those. One thing is it definitely true with Odyssey on the horizon, no pun intended, is that, yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting time for Elite one way or the other. Obviously, the possibility for like great new events based upon being able to walk around in a spacesuit is quite extensive, you know. No doubt there's whole new events that no one's actually dreamt of yet that will happen because of Horizons. Yeah. I'm going to store this and see what else I've got. Let's do a fuel transfer limpet. Again, maybe useful for future exploration. Yep, fuel transfer limpet. Please do engineer. Oh, I've unlocked grade 5 of them already. That's cool. Thought I hadn't for a second, but it took a second to update on the screen. I won't spend as much time. I haven't got the materials anyway to go to the next level, so I need conductive ceramics. But yeah, I've saved a certain amount of weight, 65% apparently, from its core weight. So yeah, it's not bad at all. I think I'll save it here and transfer it over. I say save it, I mean store the module, and then transfer the module later on. Back to the collector limpet controller. Yep, that's all good. That's all good. I'm going to go outside the station and do some external shots with the Mark IV, again to sort of illustrate the difference between that and the 3. But yeah, I'll probably wind it up the stream not long after that. I am taken with the fact this place is called the beach because it's just so surreal. It's like, well, unless there's a beach inside some like internal bit of the base, it's like, what do you do? Get your spacesuit out and just lie on the side, you know? Probably. Doesn't sound much like a beach to me, but what do I know? Fly a little bit further away from the station. That large tower there with the sort of lighthouse light on it looks pretty interesting. Yeah, let's pull back and have a look. The growling noise of the thrusters. Maybe move back a little bit further. Yeah, I do like that effect. That's pretty cool. Okay, we're further away from the base now. Main obviously external differences between the 3 and the 4 is that the 4 has the little winglets on the edges. Not quite so apparent in this light, but you can see them move a bit closer. At the edges there, yeah. But you can see the basic Cobra design range is pretty much the same. It's just enlarged. The base looks interesting from this angle. I think I'm a bit lower, relatively speaking, compared to the previous engineer base I was at with Celine Jean. Yeah, there are less sort of domes on this one. Looks more of a, I don't know, let's say conventional engineer base. They're all slightly different, but yeah, more sort of typical in many ways. I can say that even those usually have a couple of domes. But that's a nice picture, I think. Intriguing. Maybe I overuse that word on streams. I probably do. I think everyone has something that they put. That I've noticed most streamers do tend to repeat certain phrases, just because of their own personal tendencies. It's bound to happen, isn't it? You know, which is all good. Everyone should just be themselves as much as they possibly can. It's better for everyone if that's the case. Don't try and be someone you're not. Obviously, try and expand your horizons. Try new things. You know, explore life and the universe and everything. And be yourself as much as you can while doing so. I think that's quite a good place probably to end the stream today. Thank you for everyone who's watched the stream, everyone who's been in the stream and commented. Thank you for everything. Give all the good feedback. Thank you for the follows as well. It's all very much appreciated. So the growth of this channel. Say if you like the channel, please follow. Even if you're lurking, please follow. If you really like what I do, drop a donation in the about of the channel. But thank you very much, and I will see you all in the next one. Fly safe until then.